In this 2025 military power comparison between Ethiopia and Somalia, we take a close look at two key nations in the Horn of Africa with different defense structures, strategic priorities, and geopolitical realities. Ethiopia, one of Africa's largest countries by population and landmass, has historically maintained a strong military presence in the region. It operates a structured defense force with army, air force, and limited naval development programs despite being landlocked. Somalia, meanwhile, continues to rebuild its military systems after decades of internal conflict, terrorism threats, and political instability. However, Somalia's security forces have made major progress in recent years through international support, defense reforms, and increased counterterrorism operations. In 2025, the comparison between Ethiopia and Somalia goes beyond just numbers. It's about training, regional alliances, technology access, and stability. Ethiopia holds a significant numerical advantage in personnel, equipment, and land power, with a sizable armored fleet, artillery systems, and experienced infantry units. Somalia's forces are smaller but becoming more organized and professional, particularly with help from partners like Turkey, the United States, Qatar, and African Union support missions. Air power is another area where Ethiopia maintains a strong lead, with combat aircraft and experienced pilots, while Somalia's air capabilities remain limited but developing. On the ground, both nations face internal security challenges, including insurgent groups and border area conflicts. As Somalia strengthens its national army and police forces, and Ethiopia focuses on modernization after internal unrest in recent years, the 2025 comparison shows one established military power and one rapidly rising force. The Horn of Africa remains strategically important, and both Ethiopia and Somalia will continue shaping regional security dynamics. Paragraph 2. When comparing Ethiopia and Somalia's military power in 2025, it's important to understand the historical context shaping each nation's armed forces. Ethiopia's military legacy stretches decades, including major wars such as the Eritrea-Ethiopia War and multiple large-scale counterinsurgency campaigns. The Ethiopian National Defense Forces are structured, battle-tested, and accustomed to regional operations including peacekeeping missions. Following the Tigray conflict, Ethiopia began focusing heavily on modernization and rebuilding unit strength, procurement programs, and logistical enhancement. Meanwhile, Somalia's defense development has been driven largely by internal stabilization. For years, federal forces and allied militias worked together alongside African Union peacekeepers to combat al-Shabaab insurgents. With the drawdown of foreign peace forces, Somalia has increasingly transitioned towards self-reliance in 2025. Financial and training assistance from Turkey, the US, UAE, and EU remain significant in improving Somalia's infantry capabilities, rapid response units, and intelligence-based operations. Ethiopia, however, retains advantages in armored divisions, mechanized brigades, and long-range artillery systems. Geography also influences military priorities. Ethiopia faces multiple border concerns and internal ethnic tensions, requiring a large standing force. Somalia's coastal exposure and maritime trade routes push it toward rebuilding naval and coastal protection units, especially with help from Turkish maritime programs. Both nations operate in a security environment influenced by terrorism threats, regional rivalries, and strategic alliances. Ethiopia's larger force gives it conventional superiority, while Somalia is building strength through modernization, foreign training, and counterinsurgency effectiveness. In 2025, Ethiopia leads in size and equipment, but Somalia's transformation signals long-term momentum and regional capability growth. The difference between the two militaries reflects one established power versus one on an upward rebuilding track. Paragraph 3. Ethiopia's ground forces in 2025 remain the backbone of its defense strategy, consisting of numerous infantry divisions, mechanized brigades, and armored units equipped with tanks, armored personnel carriers, and heavy artillery. With a large manpower pool drawn from one of Africa's biggest populations, Ethiopia has the ability to mobilize significant troop strength. Even after internal unrest and restructuring, the country maintains a strong command structure and extensive experience in land warfare. Reports suggest Ethiopia continues to modernize its vehicle fleet, upgrading older Soviet-era tanks while seeking new partnerships for advanced systems. Somalia's ground forces, in comparison, are smaller but disciplined and increasingly organized. Years of counterinsurgency operations against al-Shabaab have shaped Somalia's troops into effective light infantry fighters skilled in guerrilla-style combat and rapid response missions. With Turkish-built military facilities, training academies, and tactical mentoring programs, Somali forces in 2025 show improved professionalism and battlefield coordination. While they currently lack the heavy armored equipment Ethiopia possesses, Somalia prioritizes mobility, special forces training, and urban combat readiness. Counter-terror operations and stabilization missions remain the military's primary task, though conventional capabilities are gradually expanding. Ethiopia's advantage is its numerical and equipment superiority, while Somalia's growing strength lies in specialized infantry, improving command systems, and international defense partnerships. Both nations understand the importance of ground power and regional stability, and while Ethiopia maintains dominance in conventional warfare, Somalia continues to strengthen and modernize with a long-term strategy to become a capable land force in the Horn of Africa. The comparison in 2025 highlights different strengths: size and firepower versus precision, reform, and developing professionalism. Air power plays a critical role in the Ethiopia versus Somalia military comparison for 2025, with Ethiopia clearly holding a major advantage in aerial capability. Ethiopia operates one of East Africa's most experienced air forces, featuring fighter jets, transport aircraft, helicopters, and reconnaissance platforms. While some of Ethiopia's aircraft are older Soviet-designed models, upgrades and continued pilot training maintain operational readiness. Air power is essential not just for external defense but also for internal security missions across Ethiopia's diverse terrain. On the other hand, Somalia's air force remains in its rebuilding phase, with ongoing restoration of facilities, training programs, and limited aircraft acquisition. Somalia's aerial assets are currently modest, focused mainly on surveillance, training aircraft, and light transport capabilities. International partners have expressed interest in supporting Somalia's air force growth, but full modernization is still in progress through the mid-2020s. Ethiopia's aerial experience gives it strong strategic advantages in border defense and rapid troop deployment. Somalia, recognizing its limited air power, instead concentrates on strengthening land-based intelligence, special forces mobility, and drone-assisted operations with foreign training support. Over the coming years, Somalia plans gradual expansion of fixed-wing and rotary-wing assets, especially for counter-terror and maritime patrol roles. The 2025 comparison clearly places Ethiopia ahead in air combat readiness, logistics, and pilot training. Somalia is on a progressive trajectory, focusing first on foundational capability building and tactical air support development. While Ethiopia's position in the sky remains dominant in the region, Somalia's aviation revival signals a strategic long-term goal to regain national air power as security conditions stabilize and technology partnerships expand. Paragraph 5 Naval and Maritime Defense highlight a unique contrast between Ethiopia and Somalia in 2025. As Ethiopia is landlocked and relies on diplomatic access to nearby ports, while Somalia controls one of Africa's longest coastlines along the Indian Ocean. Somalia's maritime domain has historically faced piracy threats, illegal fishing, and smuggling routes, making naval development a critical national priority. With help from Turkey and other partners, Somalia has been rebuilding its naval command, Coast Guard forces, and maritime training facilities. Although fleet capability remains limited, patrol boats, training ships, and coastal surveillance systems are expanding year by year. Ethiopia, despite lacking a coastline since Eritrea's independence, continues to pursue naval ambition through strategic planning and partnerships. In recent years, Ethiopia expressed interest in developing a naval presence through friendly foreign ports, emphasizing regional maritime security. Ethiopia's naval development strategy focuses on long-term goals, maritime diplomacy, and logistical agreements with nearby states. Somalia's advantage lies in natural maritime geography, while Ethiopia's approach remains strategic and diplomatic rather than operational. In 2025, Somalia continues to strengthen maritime security capacity to protect trade routes and deter coastal threats, while Ethiopia positions itself as a regional stakeholder in maritime affairs without direct maritime command. This comparison underscores two distinct defense strategies: Somalia building a functional naval and coast guard structure, and Ethiopia investing in securing maritime access through foreign relations. In the long run, Somalia's coastline will remain a strategic asset, and continued training and equipment support from allies will shape its naval future. Ethiopia's approach reflects geopolitical interest and strategic necessity rather than active naval engagement. Paragraph 6. Defense budgets and military spending form a crucial part of Ethiopia and Somalia's 2025 power comparison. Ethiopia traditionally allocates a larger budget to defense due to its larger military force, ongoing modernization needs, and regional geopolitical posture. The nation prioritizes personnel strength, land warfare assets, and aerial systems maintenance. Economic pressures and post-conflict reconstruction have influenced Ethiopia's spending efficiency, pushing the military to focus on restructuring, technology acquisition, and improving command logistics. Somalia's defense budget remains smaller, but targeted and heavily supported by foreign assistance. Funding from partners like Turkey, the United States, Qatar, and international organizations contributes to Somalia's modernization goals. Rather than focusing on large weapon systems, Somalia invests in infantry training, intelligence capacity, special forces expansion, and counter-terror technology. While Ethiopia outspends Somalia financially, Somalia's spending efficiency increases due to international training and strategic resource allocation. Defense economics in 2025 show Ethiopia operating as a large conventional military force balancing internal and external defense duties, while Somalia uses hybrid budget models focused on strengthening state security capacity and counterinsurgency operations. As Somalia stabilizes further, domestic defense spending is expected to rise gradually, especially toward naval expansion and aerial development. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's defense budget will continue emphasizing modernization, maintenance of current equipment, and restructuring for future combat readiness. In pure spending terms, Ethiopia holds the lead, but Somalia's international funding support and focused investment strategy accelerate its military rebuilding curve. Both nations direct resources toward vital national security goals, reflecting different economic capabilities and strategic priorities in the Horn of Africa. Training and military doctrine define the way Ethiopia and Somalia prepare their forces for conflict in 2025. Ethiopia's military training tradition is long established, influenced by decades of operational experience and regional defense engagement. Ethiopian troops receive structured training, participate in multinational exercises, and develop combat experience through internal security missions. Military academies and officer schools contribute to a disciplined command culture, although modernization pressures encourage new training methods and international cooperation. Somalia, in contrast, is undergoing a rapid training transformation. Turkish-led training facilities, including the prestigious Turksum Military Academy in Mogadishu, serve as key pillars of Somalia's professionalization efforts. U.S. and European trainers also contribute to intelligence, special operations, and counter-terror programs. Somalia's focus is on building elite infantry, rapid response forces, and units skilled in urban and rural counterinsurgency operations. While Ethiopia's training emphasizes combined arms structure, Somalia's doctrine currently prioritizes flexible, mobile units and stabilization strategies. Both nations value discipline and tactical efficiency, but their approaches reflect their respective strategic environments. Ethiopia trains for multi-front conventional and internal operations, while Somalia trains primarily for insurgency suppression, territorial control, and rebuilding national defense command. As Somalia expands and matures, doctrine development will shift toward combined arms and national-level defense strategies. Ethiopia maintains institutional military strength, while Somalia's rapid training modernization signals strong future capability growth. Training and doctrine comparisons reveal a well-established Ethiopian military system and a fast-improving Somali defense force reshaping itself with international support. Paragraph 8. Geopolitical alliances and international defense partnerships significantly influenced the military landscape for Ethiopia and Somalia in 2025. Ethiopia maintains a complex set of relationships, balancing ties with regional neighbors, global powers, and multilateral organizations. Historically aligned with various international partners, Ethiopia receives military support, training, and peacekeeping cooperation from countries including China, Russia, UAE, and others, while maintaining security collaboration with African Union frameworks. Domestic challenges, border tensions, and shifting diplomatic priorities influence Ethiopia's strategy. Somalia's alliances, meanwhile, are heavily security-focused and aimed at rebuilding national defense authority. Turkey remains Somalia's most active defense partner, providing training, equipment, and naval development support. The United States continues to assist Somalia in counter-terror operations, drone support missions, and intelligence coordination. Qatar, UAE, and EU nations also contribute to training and stabilization. Somalia's security partnerships emphasize sovereignty restoration and state building. Ethiopia's alliances aim to preserve regional influence and enhance force modernization. Both nations are strategically important to stability in East Africa and the Horn region. Somalia's strengthening alliances provide long-term military development benefits, while Ethiopia's established relationships offer operational support and modernization capacity. As geopolitical interests evolve, international support will continue to shape both nations' defense capabilities. Regional cooperation, combined with global partnerships, forms a backbone of security planning for both Ethiopia and Somalia, influencing military readiness, technology access, and future capability growth. Paragraph 9. Internal security challenges play a major role in the Ethiopia versus Somalia 2025 comparison. Ethiopia faces complex political and ethnic dynamics following years of regional unrest and conflict. Maintaining stability requires a large internal security presence, coordinated intelligence, and rapid response units. The country focuses on balancing national unity, countering armed groups, and securing border zones. In contrast, Somalia's primary security challenge is centered on defeating al-Shabaab insurgents and ensuring territorial control under the federal government. Somalia's counter-terror operations remain priority missions, supported by international intelligence and special forces partnerships. As Somalia strengthens national command structures and reduces reliance on external peacekeeping forces, internal security integration becomes critical. Ethiopia manages a wider geographic and political security framework, requiring layered defense and domestic deployment capability. Somalia's security environment demands counter-terror precision, local defense capacity, and stabilization missions. Both countries invest in intelligence development and military police coordination. Ethiopia emphasizes large-scale deployment capability, while Somalia focuses on elite tactical units and counter-terror operations. Stability is vital for defense development in both nations, and 2025 marks continued progress in Somalia's stabilization goals, while Ethiopia concentrates on strengthening post-conflict cohesion and modernization to ensure future resilience. Internal challenges shape training priorities, command structure evolution, and resource allocation, meaning both nations' militaries are influenced heavily by domestic security realities. Paragraph 10. Overall, the 2025 Ethiopia versus Somalia military comparison reflects two nations at different stages of defense evolution in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia remains the dominant military power with strong manpower, established military structure, air power capacity, and experience in large-scale conflict and peacekeeping missions. Its size, equipment inventory, and conventional warfare readiness maintain a strategic edge. However, Ethiopia also manages internal reconstruction and modernization challenges. Somalia, while smaller in conventional capability, shows rapid and impressive growth, driven by modern training partnerships, international support, and focused counterinsurgency development. Somalia's strategy prioritizes specialization, professionalism, and long-term force building. Navy and air capability rebuilding efforts point to future expansion into full-spectrum defense power. The comparison in 2025 highlights Ethiopia's established strength and Somalia's rising trajectory. As Somalia stabilizes and professionalizes, its military will continue gaining capability. Ethiopia's success depends on modernization, stability, and strategic diplomacy. Both nations play key roles in regional balance, and their defense evolution will influence security across East Africa. This balanced comparison illustrates where each nation stands today and where they are headed. Ethiopia holds the lead in traditional military metrics, but Somalia's defense development path is strong and promising, making the future competition increasingly dynamic.